In the morning Mark called Aaron and asked if he could put him in touch with the general. When he explained why and what he had planned to ask, Aaron became excited and wondered why he hadn't thought of it himself. Aaron asked, "Do you mind if I present this idea to the general? I know him pretty well." "I thought you'd never ask. Get back to me as soon as you get an answer. We have a group eager to get back to Tuscany with that information. I will do it right now and call you back." Dee got up before everyone and went to the local supermarket. She purchased small appliances and foodstuff to make waffles for breakfast. She got back just as Mark finished speaking with Aaron. So, she and Mark set up folding tables and chairs for everyone to sit. The smell of coffee filled the hangar, bringing everyone out of hibernation. They all made their way to the tables, now full of fruit, pastry, and coffee. "Sit down everyone, there's more where this came from," Dee said as she set a platter of waffles on the table. You would have thought the hackers were starving, because no sooner did she set the waffles down, they emptied the platter. There was a flash of light and blue traces, and the platter was empty. After breakfast, Ramous and Mark serviced the Bell 525 so Carrie could make a trip back to Tuscany. They were waiting for Aaron to call so she could leave and soon became disheartened, expecting to have heard from him before the afternoon. They took the coaches back to the new hangar, and just as they were getting ready to head back, the phone rang. It was Aaron. He sounded disappointed. Ramous could tell by the look on Mark's face that the news was not good, but Mark's face transformed when Aaron told him the general agreed. He and Aaron spent the next 20 minutes discussing the details. Mark and Ramous were excited to learn the general's response. When they got back to the hangar, Mark gave the rest of the group the news. He said, "Carrie, the general is sending 6 of his staff to work with you. Nick and Dennis, the general is also sending IT staff to work with you as well. So, go back to Tuscany and get to work." "Mark, we don't have the equipment in Tuscany to perform all the necessary work. We will probably need to go into Israel to make this happen." "Discuss that with the team the general is sending. I assume they can at least get you started, right?" "I guess, but I don't know." Carrie and the hackers left within the hour. Next, they needed to get Julie set up. Mark asked her where she wanted to establish herself. She was hired to manage the Rome branch, and she always loved Rome. So Rome it was. Julie and the other 2 hackers loaded up a van and left for Rome. Mark sent her and the techs even though they didn't have a place to stay. He told them they needed to find and rent an apartment or home. About an hour after they left, Dee reminded him of a large villa in Rome they acquired during the last operation. They hadn't transferred the title yet, but it was available. He called Julie and gave her the address and told her she could live there. She responded, "Problem solved." Zoe was worried things were going too smoothly. She was not used to that. With every operation, there were always issues which needed to be dealt with. That was her expertise, and she was disoriented at the moment. She called Mark, Dee, and Ramous into the office. "I'm not used to things going this well. We need to review our situation and find what we're missing. Are we being too sloppy? It's like everything is falling into our hands. Usually, when that happens in an operation, we're being set up." Mark answered, "You're right, Zoe, things have been falling into place rather easily, and we need to tighten things up. One area where we need more expertise before we find ourselves in trouble is legitimate legal counsel. We have no real professional legal representation. All of us are trained in legal work, but not one of us is licensed, and it seems to be a glaring issue. For me anyway. If we don't find a resolution, we're going to come up against a wall we can't scale." Dee said, "I agree. I have been thinking of that myself. We need a person who can deal with any potential legal issues. There's a lot of money and assets changing hands. One slip up and it could all come crashing down on us." Zoe jumped in, "I recommend we approach Silver Durand and ask him to help us out. We can put him on retainer. I have a feeling he would do that for us." Once Zoe mentioned Silver, it was like a heavy burden lifted from their shoulders. No one else even considered Silver. It was decided that Ramous should contact Mike and get Durant's number and call him. The group hoped they could hire him to put a name on all their legal issues they couldn't do for themselves because no one was licensed. Any gen could handle filing legal documents, but there were those things that needed that extra touch. Ramous spent a greater part of the following day talking with Mike. The rest of the group spent it going over the required paperwork to start the new corporation. They gave up around noon, because they hit a dead end. Without Israeli citizenship, they were just spinning their wheels. That night Mark received a call with an update from Carrie. She said, "Everyone's excited about becoming Israeli citizens." They were excited when I told them about the financial situation. Miss Rachel Katz called me today. I suggested we fly into Tel Aviv next week and do the work there. She was already going to suggest that. What do you think? There's no problem as long as you have all the information you need. Do you have all the gen's information? Yes, except you guys. I don't have information on any of you regarding what you're planning on doing. Fly back here this week before you go to Tel Aviv, and we will work it out. I want Julie's done first, and when you set down to do the work, I want you to put us in next, so we can finish the paperwork to form the corporation. How long will it take you to create the identification for the 6 of us? It will only take a couple hours, initially, for the 6 of you. It should only take 20 minutes to establish technical citizenship per individual, and 2 to 3 hours to add all the particulars. Give us a day, 2 at most. Alright, that'll work. You know, Mark, the exciting part about all of this is we didn't have to change anyone's name. Everyone can use their actual name. So, once the electronic piece is complete, it won't matter what anyone calls themselves. It only mattered that at some point in their past they migrated to Israel and were given citizenship. Before that, it doesn't matter where they came from. We'll stagger their entry so no one will be part of a mass migration. We have already created birth certificates from different countries around the world, mostly from the Ukraine. The hackers will still need to establish electronic birth certificates in most of those countries. They have done about a third of them already. These guys are fast. At this speed, they'll have that part finished by tomorrow morning. Afterward, I only need to have them put the finishing touches on the electronic files once we get to Israel. Don't say anything, but all 3 of us have covertly worked in the Israeli system in the past. What? Is anyone going to recognize you? No. It was behind the scenes. Oh, one last thing. What about Mr. Rignor? I don't know if he plans to get a new identification. I don't think he's planning on it, but you can talk to him about that when you get here. Okay, see you Saturday. Right after she hung up, Julie called, "Mark, the home in Rome is such a beautiful villa, and it's only 8 kilometers outside Rome, in San Felice Sergio. It should work for me. Can I have it?" "We can work on that, Julie, and that shouldn't be a problem. We're all going to deal with those kinds of things when the time is right." I just got off the phone with Carrie. She's coming in Saturday, and you will need to be here on Sunday so she can create your ID. See you on Sunday. Yes, I'll see you on Sunday. Goodbye. Oh, I need a car. Driving the van will not work for me. Okay, when you come on Sunday you can pick one out to drive back. We have several to choose from. Thanks, Mark. See you Sunday. Since the group was spending most of their time at the hangar, everyone revisited Zoe's recommendation and agreed to purchase 2 homes close to the airport. So, Dee and Zoe spent the week looking for homes to buy. They were looking for houses large enough to sleep 16 people. Dee and Zoe couldn't have been more different, deciding what they needed. One liked particulars about a residence, and the other didn't. After the 5th house, Zoe gave in and told Dee to pick out the houses, and she would be quiet about it. On Saturday, while Ramous and Mark were standing out front of the hangar discussing whether Ramous wanted to change his ID, Carrie returned in the 525, and before the blades even stopped, 2 Gulfstreams rolled up to the hangar, followed by a C-130J. Kat and Art exited from the 2 Gulfstreams, and the same young Israeli officer exited from the C-130J. Mark shouted, "Welcome back team." You brought a friend? Art answered. Yes, we did. The general has been busy fulfilling his word to get all our assets to us. The young officer handed Mark the manifest. Mark ran back into the office and grabbed his list. The plane was carrying 3 more motor coaches, a dozen vehicles and 3 more helicopters. Once the gate was down, it became quiet. Ramous caught his first glimpse of the 2 helicopters. The young officer came and stood next to him and said, "Those are very nice and very expensive helicopters. The one on the left is a Sikorsky S-76C, the one on the right is a Bell 525 Relentless. The one in the back, which we put in first because the crew didn't know about the rest of the vehicles, is an Augusta Westland AW101 VIP, and it's one of the most luxurious helicopters I have ever seen." Just as the young soldier said that, General Levitt came walking down the ramp. Ramous greeted him and directed him toward the hangar. As Mark came out, the 2 bumped into one another. The general turned back to the plane and pointed as he said to Mark, "I keep my promises. I believe this brings us up to 1/2 of the equipment we promised you." Mark answered, "That sounds about right." The general asked, "Can we talk somewhere private, please?" Mark led him to the office and the rest of the group followed. Once in the office, the general took a seat and explained, "We need your help again. We're not done with Holstein. He still has cash and other assets stashed throughout the world. The fascinating part about all of this is no one other than Israel, and your group knows he's dead. We had several operatives who have taken up as Mr. Holstein since the first time we killed him, and have been intercepting every form of correspondence he's received since. Holstein has $8 billion USD in the US and Germany, and he has $11 billion in the central bank in Iran. Israel has convinced the US and Germany to release the money after we told them it would help in an operation that we've devised to neutralize him. So, they have agreed when we're ready to release those funds, but we will need you ready to transfer those funds on Holstein's behalf when they're released. Both the US and Germany tend to forget about stuff once they no longer control it. You know, out of sight, out of mind?" D said, "That's a lot of money." "Yes, it is. 3 days ago, I received a call from some important people, who told me that both countries were at a point they had no legal reason to hold the funds. They will give those funds up in a matter of 2 months. That's perfect timing for us because they figured it was better to turn it over to us, to use in an operation to take Holstein out, rather than give it back to him. Our problem after giving you all that unnecessary background information is the 11 million sitting in Iran. The problem is, if we or the US relieve them of those funds, there will be an audit trail. That's because neither one of us is as good as your group pulling off a pickpocket like this. The money belongs to a dead man, and it's better to remove it before Iran finds out, who will then use it for terrorist activities. We'll give you a share? Can you do that for us?" Mark answered, "Yes, we can." "What share?" "How about $250 American? Does that sound like a fair share?" "Sure, we can do it for $150, but you need to pay us in advance." I know, you could do it yourselves with no one's help. You don't need us, we need you, but we can make the money available much faster. We can wash it for you. I know, because I'm a second gen just like you. It could take years for you to clean that much money moving it around. We can do it with one quick stroke of the pen. Once the operation is complete, we were thinking of buying another business of yours for $3 billion. We'll even create the business and value it for you. How does that sound? There won't be a country or an agency that could refute how clean the money would be. And I'm happy to say, as Israeli citizens, there will be no tax liabilities. That guarantee is good all the way to the Prime Minister. Ramous interjected, "What you're saying is we will deliver to you $19 billion, and you will allow us to keep 3? Our fee should be more like $6 billion, don't you agree?" The general laughed, and said, "Who said humans don't have a bear? I want to offer you $6 billion, but that's the limit. Think of us as a young nation and trying to keep our feet. That money will provide for our growing military, which we need to survive. $6 billion, it is. Will you do it?" Mark asked, When do you need this done? We'd like to get started next week. The US and Germany will release the funds on Tuesday. It will only hit one or two backwoods newspapers, but once Iran hears about the release, they might lock the 11 billion up in their bank before we can transfer it. Zoe said, we have two hackers in Tel Aviv right now. Either of them could hack into Iran's central bank and relieve them of those funds. My best banking expert is in Rome, but she has 4 counterparts in Tuscany right now. I'll bring the 4 of them here today. And we can go over the details. Any one of them is more than capable, with our banker in Rome, to relieve those funds from Iran without a trace. When we're done, the money will be gone, and no one in their central bank will be able to find it. Kat said, I can do it myself, Zoe. Mark said, I want the rest of the gens to get involved, so they're not just sitting on their behinds. They're getting bored and starting to complain. The general said, however it's done is up to you. Mark, we will need to move those assets to Venezuela. I neglected to tell you that. We need to hack them from there. Is that a problem? That idiot president of Venezuela is chummy with Iran. If they even trace the money, let them trace it to him. They can fight about it, and perhaps Iran will take him out, which would be good for the country, in my opinion. Everyone laughed. Mark said, that sounds like a bonus. Kat asked, do you want us to make it look like Venezuela took the money? We can do that if you like. Venezuela's banking system is a joke. You'd think middle school kids set it up. Well, forgive me, I didn't mean to insult middle school kids. No, I prefer you don't leave any trace of who took it. We chose Venezuela only because if they should trace it, we want the trail to end there. It's only a security precaution. Mark said, all right, we'll set the team up there. In the meantime, let's bring everyone on board. After the meeting, Mark had the C-130J make its way to the new hangar where they unloaded it and sent it, along with General Levitt, on its way. Julie was coming in on Sunday. Mark asked her to bring her team when she came. She and her team met with Carrie first thing Sunday morning. He planned to speak to that afternoon about the operation and receipting the additional $19 billion into concealed accounts. He explained what the operation was and gave them the deadline. The plan was for her team to leave for Venezuela on Monday and set up by Wednesday. Julie was to return to Rome and monitor the US and German release of Holstein's money, and once it takes place, relay the pertinent information to her team in Venezuela. They would then act on behalf of Holstein and transfer the released funds from the US and Germany to a fake account she created on behalf of Hezbollah. That was the intended plan in which Israel suggested to both the US and Germany. They expected Holstein to withdraw those monies once they're released. Levitt told both the US and Germany it was their intention to trace the withdrawal. That would give them Holstein's location and they could respond with a task force to arrest him, or terminate him. Once Israel completed the operation, they would notify the US and Germany whether the plan was successful. It was Israel's intention to tell them Holstein was killed in the process. As soon as Israel reported to the US and Germany that he was dead, Julie would transfer the money into a secure account under the name General Mohammed Ziad, using a Swiss account that neither country could access. Both countries will have to accept the money was taken by Hezbollah. Both the US and Germany could only retreat because they had no real control of the money in the first place, other than restricting access. Israel will say they're going after the group, and both countries will wish them success in their endeavor to eliminate the terrorist group and recover the money. Israel will feign anger over the transfer, but admit there was nothing they could do about it. The general would go before the media and promise to bring Hezbollah to its knees. In the meantime, the team will monitor the Iranian central bank as they tried to move the 11 billion into a more secure account. They were counting on Iran to take those measures once the US and Germany released their funds. They were right. Once the news reached Iran, the president ordered the bank to move the money into another account so he could gain access to it. He actually created a personal account and tried to transfer it there. Once the transfer was issued, the team intercepted it and rerouted it to another fake Swiss account under a similar name of the president of Venezuela. As far as it concerned the Iranians, the money just disappeared in transit without a trace. The leader of Iran couldn't say anything, because it would have appeared that he was trying to steal it. The team left clues to make it look like Holstein planned for the money to disappear beforehand, to protect his assets from being stolen by unscrupulous people after he was dead. It made the Iranian leadership angry, but, again, there was nothing they could do about it. So, they went on national television saying they planned to wipe Israel from the face of the map for killing their friend Holstein. The plan went off without a hitch. Julie moved the money into several smaller accounts for the group and another account for the Israelis. The following Saturday Mark received a call from General Levitt, who said, "Mark, you guys are amazing. We, again, want to thank you for your service to Israel. The Prime Minister sends his regards and appreciation. The operation was a windfall for both of us, sir. Now, I want to talk to you about two corporations you said you would set up for us. We have so much property we need to make legitimate so we can use it." "Oh, man, Mark. I'm so sorry. We set up two companies which you sold to Israel and a third to receive those funds for your operation. I expected Aaron to give you that information. I'll chew him out. Regarding him, he's lost in love. I can't pry him and that woman, Melissa, apart. Go to this website and you will find everything you need to get the ball rolling. You will find information about the two companies we bought from you there. Let me give you their names. One is the tech company called Meteor Technologies, with several government contracts worth billions. We purchased that company for $2.5 billion. The second is a property management group called Green Properties. It owns several large sections of land and manages most of the public land in Israel. We purchased that company for $5 billion. We ended up purchasing land we already owned. Again, you will find all the details on the website. Oh, it's a secure website, and the access is, the group is the login and our good friends is the password. Now, we purchased both companies from the third company, the Israel Financial Group. We had our experts, and you can make necessary changes if you need or want to, set up the company as a multi-billion-dollar company with all the information to make it appear it was a large corporation, established in 1987. I was told you were setting up a dummy corporation under that name. The Israeli government did that for you as well. I hope this will solve your problem and you won't have to worry about doing it yourself. Thanks, General. You have saved us a lot of work and worry about setting it up ourselves. Although I can't tell you how badly my butt hurts from sitting down and doing all that paperwork. What paperwork was that, Mark? Don't worry about it. I'm going to collect everyone and review the site once I'm off the phone. Have a wonderful day, General. Thank you. No, Mark, thank you, and have a great day too. Talk to you soon. Goodbye. Next, Mark called Julie and explained the conversation he had with General Levitt. He gave her the information regarding the website and asked her to do what was necessary to move all the money into the company, the Israel Financial Group Incorporated. She explained how she put most into concealed accounts but left $200 million in a company account with records back to 1987, as a startup. She asked if he could send her assistants to join her in Rome because there will be a lot of input, and she was busy at the bank. He agreed. On Monday, everyone at the hangar went to work transferring deeds and titles to the ownership of the Israel Financial Group Incorporated. Kat established most of the real property with an earlier purchase date, making it appear the financial group had owned them for years. Once interested parties gave up on the assets, the group had no problem transferring titles to the corporation. It took several weeks to get everything registered under their new corporation. Although the group held almost $9 billion in company stock owned by Mr. Holstein, they hadn't done anything with it. Julie went snooping around and found several accounts established with Bank CIC Switzerland, where dividends were being paid to Holstein. Those account balances were holding over $4 billion from 10 years of deposits. There have been occasional draws by Holstein. Otherwise there has been no activity other than accumulating interest. They contacted General Levitt and told him about the accounts and the stocks. Levitt asked, "Is there any way we can access those accounts?" Mark answered, "Not only can we access them, We can sell the stock to the tune of $9 billion. We can dump them on the US and European stock markets, but we need to ration the offerings. General, we could have done this ourselves without worrying how we washed the money, but we decided it was unfair for us not to include you, and we're thinking if you're interested we could send $250 your way. How does that work for you? We would have helped for half that. So, yeah, let's get busy. How does 50-50 work? But you need to run interference for us again, particularly security. There will be another $13 billion to divide up between us. We can do that for you, Mark. 50% is generous. Especially when we didn't know what was available. Tell me when you plan to do this. We can get started tomorrow. The only other person besides us who knows the money is the account manager by the name of Alvin Schubert, with Bank CIC Switzerland. He and the accounts are in Zurich. According to the records, Schubert has not looked at the account for over a year. Our banker, Julie, said she can process the transfer paperwork tomorrow, and have it transferred to another branch in Paris. During that time, she will intercept any and all correspondence from the Zurich branch to the Credit Mutual CIC in Paris, and act as the new account manager with Credit Mutual. The money will take a detour in transit. The Zurich branch will forget about it, the Paris branch won't even know it's coming, and we should have the money, $4 billion, in 7 days. While we do that, we'll send a memo to the financial group, Alrich Investors Incorporated in Boston, Massachusetts, who are handling Holstein's stock investments, and inform them he sold his stock to the Israel Finance Group Incorporated before he died. Alrich is a German branch bank within the US. So, what kind of security did you need from us? I'll get there. Since this is a private matter, the US will not get involved, but the bank will fight us tooth and nail until they have proof. That's what we want them to do. When they do so, they will hold all dividends until we settle the matter, and won't send any more dividends to Holstein's account in Zurich. By doing so, CIC could open an investigation. We'll ask them to give us time to get the proper paperwork together, and they will have no choice. We'll wait 3 months before we send the sales documents to Alrich. 3 months will give us time to set up our legal team, who we will send in with the rest of the paperwork to settle. This will be fun. Mark, this is a great story, and you know we will help however we can. Just tell me what you need. Okay, General, we will need documentation from the Israeli government to support the sale and purchase of the stock. Official seals with proper paperwork. They'll expect a manager from a reputable bank in Israel who had witnessed the sale. Someone they can get in contact with should they need to, and they will check that person out. If you have anyone you can trust who will help, bring them on board. That will be important to our success. Alright, I have a high-profile bank president in mind. He's worked undercover for me before. I'll check out the situation and call you back in 3 hours, after I have talked with him. Goodbye, Mark. After the call, Mark pulled both Ramous and Zoe into the office. Ramous, I haven't talked to you since you called Mike Davis. What resulted from that phone call? Zoe and I had planned on making a trip back to Oregon, after Julie was up and running, to see if we fit in any longer. I asked Mike to invite Silver to my hotel in Oregon for a meeting. I explained what we were looking for, but I preferred to talk to him face to face. Mike just called me back 20 minutes ago and said Silver wants to meet with us. Do you have proper ID to get through customs? Mark, we already talked about that. We've been flying in and out of the States as the Rignor couple. Zoe has already established herself as my wife. So, I have no reason to change my name since no one is after me any longer. We thanked Carrie for asking, but there was no need to change who we are. Alright, take the Gulfstream G550. When do you plan to leave? We want to leave tomorrow morning. You don't need us for anything, so that will be a good time for us to go. Okay, bring me a couple jars of Oregon Marionberry jam when you come back. I've heard it's fantastic. It is. We'll bring you a case. The couple left the next morning for Oregon.